ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of Ramakrishna, the Great Master, written by Shardanandaji Maharaj. We were going through the chapter as the spiritual teacher concluded. From these examples, we find that when Sri Ramakrishna dwelt in the normal state of consciousness, the real nature of anything could not escape his keen observation. Even external nature could not keep concealed from his eyes the essential qualities of its changes, let alone human nature. We are, of course, not speaking of those changes of external nature which can be detected and understood only with the help of instruments. Another point to be noted in this connection is that even those exceptional changes or manifestations of external nature that do not generally attract the notice of people always came within the master's observation whenever he was in the normal plane of consciousness. The Divine Mother placed at all times before the master the uncommon manifestations of nature, the exceptions to the general law, as if to impress upon his mind the idea that all kinds of manifestations in the world owed their origin to the will of God. In other words, that he was the direct controller of the wheels of the destinies of all things and persons in the world. Now, let us go through some of the observation of Sri Ramakrishna and also the observation of Shardanandaji Maharaj. What is Shardanandaji Maharaj telling here? Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling the Divine Mother placed at all times before Sri Ramakrishna the uncommon manifestations of the nature, the exceptions to the general law, as if to impress upon his mind the idea that all kinds of manifestations in the world, all kinds of manifestations in the world owed their origin to the will of God. In other words, that he was the direct controller of the wheels of the destinies of all things and persons in the world. So everything is happening according to the will of the Lord. In other words, that he was the direct controller of the wheels of the destinies of all the things, all the beings and persons in the world. From such events as Sri Ramakrishna came across from his childhood, we get the clear meaning of his words. The Lord of laws can at will alter them and make new ones instead. Now the whole world is going on according to the will of the Lord. Suppose there are so many laws governing this nature. If the Lord wills, he can change the rules and regulations which he himself has done with this nature and bring in any change he likes. That's why we call the Lord as all-powerful. Suppose there are so many rules of the nature, regulations of the nature, And suppose some of the people of the religion will claim that the Lord cannot change his rules, then you are limiting God, and you are telling that God is all powerful, and at the same time you are telling God cannot do that, God cannot do this. Then how can he be all powerful? So that's why we have to note that God is all powerful. That means Sarvashakta. He can do anything and everything. He can change anything and everything at will. So now we have to remember the example given by Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. What does he tell? The story is Narada Maharshi is going and there were two yogis who were meditating. One of the yogis who saw Narada Maharshi told, "Oh, great venerable sage, where are you going?" "I'm going to Vaikuntha." "Can you tell me what the Lord Vishnu or Narayana is doing in the Vaikuntha?" "Definitely. When I go there, I will see Lord Narayana and then come back. While coming back, I'll report all that things to you." So he went a little far away and found another yogi meditating. He too stopped him, asked him the same question, that where are you going? "Going to Vaikuntha. What when you come back, please report to me what the Lord is doing." After many years, Narada Maharshi went to Vaikuntha. While coming back, he met the first yogi, and the yogi asked him very eagerly, "What is the Lord doing there in Vaikuntha?" And our great Narada Maharshi told, "The Lord Vishnu or Narayana is taking a big camel and trying to pierce or cross, take that camel through the eye of the needle." You know how big will be the needle, and how will be the eye of the needle, from which we find it so difficult even to pierce the thread into it. So now what is the Lord doing there in Vaikuntha? He's taking a big camel and he is trying to take through that eye of the needle the camel towards that side and this side. And the first yogi was very much unimpressed. He felt very bad. He told, "What is that? You are telling all bogus things. You have not gone to Vaikuntha and you have not seen. How can the Lord do that? Highly impossible. He can't do that. He can't. And why should he do that? And he can't do that." Then Narada Maharshi laughed and went to the next destination. While going on the way, he met another yogi. Then that yogi asked, "What is the Lord doing?" Again, the same reply by Narada Maharshi. The Lord was trying to take the camel through the eye of the needle from this side to that side and that side to this side. Then that yogi started jumping and dancing, telling, "Oh, yes, so great, so great. The Lord is doing so many good things." He jumped and clapped. And Narada Maharshi himself was surprised and asked him, "How can it be possible?" "Yes, God is all powerful. God is all powerful. He can do anything and everything. Nothing is impossible to him." So that is what we have to see. There is nothing impossible to the Lord in this universe. He can do anything. We have to note that the Lord is creating through the nature millions and millions of the Brahmanda, the universe, so many different types of universes, galaxies, Milky Ways. Every second, the Brahmayoni is giving birth to so many galaxies and universes. So Ramakrishna had seen that vision, the vision of the Brahmayoni, and later on, even Vivekananda also had seen that. That's why our Shastras describe that as the Divine Mother as Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Janani. So here we can see Divine Mother had shown Ramakrishna. What is that? The Divine Mother placed at all times before Sri Ramakrishna the uncommon manifestations of nature, the exceptions to the general law. So every general law, there were so many exceptions, as if to impress upon his mind, that is Ramakrishna's mind. Divine Mother was showing the idea that all kinds of manifestation in the world owed their origin to the will of God. In other words, the Lord was the direct controller of the wheels of the destinies of all things and all people in the world. From such events, as Sri Ramakrishna came across from his childhood, we get the clear meaning of these words. The Lord of laws. That's why God is called the Lord of laws. can at will alter them and make new laws. A few such events if he wants. We are charmed to read. So Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling, we were charmed to read in our college days a little of the discoveries of the modern physics regarding the power of electricity. So just then the electricity and other things were being found out. So that great discoveries itself, because in those days, in the 1860s, Shardanandaji Maharaj is seeing all these things in the 1860s, 1870s. So we were charmed to read in our college days a little of the discoveries of the modern physics regarding the power of electricity. In our boyish liveliness, one day we raised the topic in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna and were speaking various things to one another. Observing the repeated utterance of the word electricity, electricity, Sri Ramakrishna expressed curiosity like a boy and asked, well, what are you talking about? What is the meaning of electric? We could not help laughing at his boyish pronunciation of that English word, which was utterly strange to him. That was the first time Sri Ramakrishna heard the term electricity. So Sri Ramakrishna couldn't pronounce that word. So just like a small boy, he was trying to pronounce it. What is the meaning of that electric? So Ramakrishna couldn't pronounce it properly. That was the first time he heard. Observing the repeated utterance of the word electricity, the master expressed curiosity like a boy and asked, well, what are you talking about? What is the meaning of electric? We could not help laughing at his boyish pronunciation of that English word. So I remember when I joined the Ramakrishna Ashrama in 1988, maybe 1 year later, one of the brahmacharis told this humorous thing to me. There was one child who was studying in the English medium school, and the teacher was very desperately trying to teach him the English pronunciation. So he was finding it very difficult. When this term electricity was being taught to him, he couldn't pronounce it properly. Teacher is telling him, please pronounce electricity. And he is telling electricity. The teacher is again and again giving him the correct pronunciation to be pronounced. And he cannot do that. He's telling electricity instead of electricity. Then the teacher got fed up. Next day, she summoned the father to the school to take away that boy from the English medium. Why? He cannot pronounce one simple thing like electricity. He's telling electricity, electricity. What kind of a child is he? We can't teach him. You take him away and put him to another school. Then the father started speaking to the teacher and pleaded, teacher, please don't mind. Forgive him. Allow him to learn English in your school itself. He might not pronounce that word properly. That is his capacity. The father also couldn't pronounce the word capacity. Father also had the same problem. The tongue would not twist. So he was also telling, that is his capacity, teacher. So the child is telling electricity and the father is telling capacity. So that was the problem in the family itself. But here Ramakrishna heard this word, English word, for the first time. What is the meaning of this? You are talking so much of electric. He could not help laughing at his boyish pronunciation of that English word, which was utterly strange to him. Afterwards, we told him of the general laws of electricity. We also told him of the utility of the lightning conductor, that its height should be a little greater than that of the house. inasmuch as the highest point is struck by the lightning, and so on. The master listened attentively to all our words and said, "But I saw a small shed beside a three-storied house." There was a three-storied house which was very tall, and beside that there was a small shed. I saw a small shed, besides a three-storied house, and the wretched power of lightning, according to your law of science or electricity or electricity. So that wretched power of lightning, instead of striking the latter, that is the tallest building, struck this very small shed, struck the former. What have you got to say about this law? Can an all inclusive and uniform explanation without an exception be given for these occurrences, my children? The law exists by the will of the universal mother and can get reversed again by her own will. We tried to explain to Sri Ramakrishna the natural laws, but like Mathur Babu could not find a suitable reply on that occasion. We told Sri Ramakrishna that the lightning was attracted towards the three-storied house, but it struck the shed because its course was suddenly deflected by some unknown cause. We continued to say that although one or two exceptions were seen, lightning struck the highest points in thousands of other places, and so on. But Sri Ramakrishna never accepted the statement that the events of nature took place according to the inviolable laws. He said, "Let us take for granted that lightning behaves in thousands of places in the way you say. Yet, as there are a few exceptions, the law, it is clear, loses its uniformity." There have been the botanists, have recorded exceptions to the production of white or red flowers in the case of plants that generally produce either of them only. But they are so uncommon that it is no exaggeration to say that ordinarily we never come across such cases. But look at the event of Sri Ramakrishna's life at the very time of the controversy between him and Mathur Babu on the proposition that laws of nature are not invariable but are changed by the will of the Lord. An instance came to the notice of Sri Ramakrishna and was shown to Mathur Babu. We refer to the incident of this showing the branch of a hibiscus plant bearing a red and white flower on the same twig. It is said that the master saw a stone as living. It is said during the time of his sadhana, Sri Ramakrishna saw a stone living. How is that? Asked about it, the author said, the master saw a stone jump from one place to another place. There was a time during the time of sadhana when he told to the Divine Mother, if all the experiences you are given to me in the spiritual life, your vision, and so many other experiences in the spiritual life, if they are all true, now this stone, this big stone, should jump. Then immediately the stone started jumping. So Ramakrishna and Sharadanandaji Maharaj is referring to that incident, that Sri Ramakrishna saw a stone, big stone, jump from one place to another place. So they are so uncommon that it is no exaggeration to say that ordinarily we never come across such cases. But look at the events of Sri Ramakrishna's life. At the very time of controversy between him and Mathur Babu on the proposition that laws of nature are not invariable but are changed by the will of God, an instance came to notice of Sri Ramakrishna and was shown to Mathur Babu. It is said afterwards that master saw a stone as living. He saw the coccyx of human body elongate itself a little and shrink to its natural length afterwards. And he met with gods, angels, and ghosts. We heard of all these and of many more events of Sri Ramakrishna's life. In imitation of the West, we have come to the conclusion that nature, the creatrix of world, is insentient and absolutely destitute of power of intelligence. So because of the influence of West, Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling, we have come to the conclusion that this nature, the creatrix, in imitation of the West, we have come to the conclusion that nature, the creatrix of the world, is insentient and absolutely destitute of power of intelligence. We therefore remain satisfied with calling those exceptional events natural aberrations and think that we have understood all the laws of this nature by which nature is regulated. But the master's conviction was different. He was conscious that the whole of external and internal nature was nothing but the sport of the living universal mother. Again, I will quote Sri Ramakrishna's word. The master's conviction was different. He was conscious that the whole of external and internal nature was nothing but the sport of the living universal mother. So the nature and the laws of nature are not made by some insentient being and law, but it is the sport. All that whole of external and internal nature was nothing but the sport of the living universal mother coming within our experience. He therefore looked upon these exceptional events as the productions of her will in particular instances. It does not need to be stated that on account of this conviction, the master's mind had much more peace and bliss than ours. If not anything else, we have mentioned a few such instances of the master's life before, and we will do so later on also. The master saw all the things and persons from the two standpoints mentioned before, and then came to a certain conclusion about them. He did not form any opinion like us, who make observations from the ordinary plane of consciousness only. Therefore, when he undertook travels to holy places and paid visit to holy men, he estimated their spiritual values in both these ways. It was by observation from higher planes of consciousness that masters estimated, that Sri Ramakrishna estimated how much of high spiritual power was concentrated in any particular plane of pilgrimage. In other words, how much potentiality a particular holy place had of helping man to ascend to those planes. Each pilgrimage's event, he could fathom, he could observe how much of power was there when human beings went there to those places of pilgrimages, that they could raise the plane of consciousness or the mind power to such a higher state by which those people who visit the pilgrimages can raise their mind, can progress in spiritual life. So, therefore, when Sri Ramakrishna undertook travels to holy places and paid visit to holy men, he estimated their spiritual values in both these ways. It was by observation from higher planes of consciousness that Sri Ramakrishna estimated how much of high spiritual power was concentrated in any particular place of pilgrimage. In other words, how much potentiality, the hidden power, potentiality, a particular holy place had of helping man to ascend to those planes. Sri Ramakrishna's mind, destitute of the attachment to say sights, tastes, and other objects. So when they tell sight, taste, and other object, that means the corresponding objects of our senses. Sight is for the eyes, taste is for the tongue, sound is for the ears, the touch is for the skin, the smell is for the nose. So these are all the five senses. So all the five panchabhuta elements, five elements are corresponding to these five senses. So the master mind was in control of all these five senses. In Bhagavad Gita, we were explaining about Krishna telling about the sense regulation and the regulation of the mind, and then nididhyasana. In the second chapter, he's telling about the three spiritual practices. Because Sri Ramakrishna is completely controlled his all five senses and the mind and kept it in his own will. So the master's mind, destitute of the attachment to sights, tastes, and other objects, and always pure like that of the gods, was a wonderful detector because he had control of the senses completely within his own will. So it was just like the gods. The master's mind, destitute of the attachment of these sense organs, and it was not swayed by the sense objects or the objects of enjoyments, and was always pure like that of gods. So it had become like a wonderful detector and indicator. That pure mind had become like a wonderful detector and indicator of those subtle facts. As soon as Sri Ramakrishna went to a place of pilgrimage or a temple, his mind ascended to a higher plane of consciousness and revealed to him the divine manifestation present in that place of temple. It was from that high plane of consciousness that Master saw Kashi or Varanasi golden, and could understand how a living being, Jiva, became freed from all bondages at death in Kashi. It was from the same high plane again that the master experienced a special manifestation of divine presence in Vrindavan, and had the immediate knowledge of the existence of the subtle presence of Sri Gauranga, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at Navadvipa down till today. Sri Chaitanya was the first, it is said, to experience the manifestation of divine presence at Vrindavan. Before his advent, the holy places of pilgrimage at Vraja were almost forgotten. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled there, in those places, his mind ascended to higher planes of consciousness, and he experienced particular divine manifestation of Sri Krishna in particular places where long ago Bhagavan Sri Krishna had actually sported. Why is it being told like this? Because the place Vrindavan, if you go now, you can see all that is being discovered. What we see, the Niduvana, the Kunja, and the Radha Kunda, then Krishna Kunda, Shama Kunda, and Radha Kunda, and other places where Krishna did his Leela sports, the Govardhanagiri, and the Yamuna Tira, where Lord Krishna tamed the Kalinga Sarpa, and so many incidences of Vrindavan. They had beautiful temples, and it was a site of pilgrimage from time immemorial. So many beautiful big temples were built by many kings, and it was being developed as a place of pilgrimage over the ages. From the time of Lord Krishna, Parikshit was the first person to build temples for Lord Krishna. We all know that. Parikshit asked his aunt, because he was a very small boy when he was protected from the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, which was directed towards the womb of Uttara, the wife of Abhimanyu. So this great king Parikshit was the son of Abhimanyu and Uttara. So when Ashwattama released the Brahmastra to destroy or to fight against Arjuna, Arjuna also released Brahmastra. So there would be a big catastrophe. So Brahma intervened and told to take back the Brahmastra. So Arjuna could do it. He had that expertise. But since Ashwattama was so angry against the Pandavas, he wanted to kill all the traces of the Pandavas. So he didn't want that Pandava, the lineage to continue. So it turned that only last year it killed even the Upapandavas, the 5 sons of Draupadi were also killed when they were sleeping. He butchered them, Ashwattama. Now he turned the missile, the Brahmastra, towards the womb, so that not even a trace of Pandava's lineage should go forward, continue. But Lord Krishna protected it, protected the womb from the Brahmastra by Sudarshana Chakra, and Parikshit was born. So he didn't remember, he saw Lord Krishna as a baby and also growing up. But by that time, after some time, Krishna gave up his body. So he asked his aunt who had seen Sri Krishna to describe how Krishna was. And she started describing. While she was describing the beauty and the features of Krishna, there was the expert sculptor of that time who started sculpting, and a beautiful image of Krishna was produced there, life-size image. When the aunt saw it, she told, oh, only the leg portion, from the thighs to the legs down, it resembles Krishna. The other things, okay, it is somewhat nearing Krishna. Then again, she started explaining, and the sculptor started sculpting. So finally, when that was finished, the aunt of Parikshit told, oh, this image, the waist from the abdomen down to the thighs, is resembling of that Krishna. The other portion is somewhat like Krishna. And again, she started explaining the features of Krishna, and the sculptor started sculpting again. And finally, that third image resembled the face portion above the chest to the head. That was resembling Lord Krishna. So now Parikshit had 3 images of Krishna done, because there was no photography and all other robotics or artificial intelligence to carve or to bring out the picture, or so much of advancement in science to bring out a beautiful picture or a beautiful image of Krishna. So it was exactly done. The stone was sculpted exactly at that time. The 3 images, where the face up to the chest was completely beautiful like Krishna, and another image from the chest to the waist, and another image that was from the leg portion. So all these were established there in Vrindavan by Parikshit himself, and huge temples were constructed. Stone granite temples. It stood there for many, many years. And other than that, there were so many other temples, beautiful things there. So as we know that during the Mughal rule, one of the fanatic and bigoted king who hated idols, who hated idol worship, the Islamic invader Aurangzeb, he from his Agra palace saw the temples, the 7-storied Gopuram, where the lights were lit in the night. So he saw that and told, what are the lights I can see from here, from my palace? So from Agra, it is about 30 or 40 kilometers. So he could see from the great height of his palace. So when they told it was the birthplace of Krishna, it was a pilgrimage site, he told, tomorrow morning, that should not be there. Send the army, let the armies march. Go and destroy that place, the birthplace of Krishna, and also the Vrindavan, everything. All the temples there. Day after tomorrow, I should not see any temple or Gopuram there. So the army marched. By the time the command was given, the Rajput spies, they took the news to the Rajputs there in Rajasthan. and they all came. It is nearby bordering this Delhi, Agra, Rajasthan. So they quickly came and hid some of the images, whatever these old, very old images that, as we told, the three images done by Parikshit was hid in the cart and covered with grass, and it was taken away to Rajasthan so that that should not be destroyed. They kept the dummy picture, the images there. The Islamic invaders didn't know which was the real one, so they destroyed some of them. Some of the original old images which were worshipped for thousands of years were taken away as dolls, play toys to the children of the what do you call, the kings, the Mughal kings. They will have so many zanana, the wives, so many wives. In Islam you can marry many. The polygamy is there. So in those days there were many wives, maybe 100 or 60 or something like that. Even now you can find in some of the Arabic countries they marry so many. So the zanana, there were so many wives for that kings and so many children too. So for the children, all these images of the Lord were given as presents, as toys to play with, whatever that might be the thing. So the whole of Vrindavan was razed to grounds. There were only rubbles. If you go now to Vrindavan in some place, you can see the rubbles of the temple, the stone carvings, everything broken down. Even now you can find the remains of those things. And even the birthplace where Lord Krishna was born, Mathura, where there was a big temple that was razed and broken, and a masjid was built above that. Even now you can see that. In Kashi, in Vrindavan, in Ayodhya, now you can see the court, the Supreme Court has given the judgment that belonged to Lord Rama, and the Lord Rama's temple has to be built there. Whatever that is, more than 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, or even more, innumerable temples were razed to grounds, destroyed all over India. So what you see now are only small remnants, that's all. The most beautiful, special architectural beauties and scientific beauties of temples were all razed to grounds. So Vrindavan and Mathura were also razed to ground in that way. So now they were not allowing anybody to go to that site of pilgrimage for many years, and they would not allow anybody to go nearby. They would build some masjids, and only Muslims could go and pray. So even in Prayagraj, there was that Samsara Vriksha, big banyan tree, or the Vata Vriksha, that was also tried to be killed, or that tree was tried to be cut again and again. It would come up, and they even tried to put molten lead to the roots so that it should never sprout again. But it was coming to life again and again. So the Islamic king built a fort, big fort around that wall so that Hindus couldn't go there and worship that tree. Even now you can see that fort if you go to Praya, and the name was also, after the destruction there, the Sangama, Triveni Sangama, the Prayagaraja, it was named as Allahabad. Now again, after the UP Chief Minister Adityanath came back, he has renamed it, removed that name Allahabad and renamed it as Prayagaraja. Prayaga means Prakarshena Rupena Yaga. The first yaga for the time of creation, Brahma did it there. That's why it's called Prayaga. So all that was destroyed everywhere. So now in Vrindavan, when it was destroyed and it became like forest, nobody would go there. Later on, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Avatara who came down, he was the first, it is said, to experience. He went there to Vrindavan, and because he was an Avatara and he had a lot of spiritual progress, he could find out in meditation, he could have that vision, he could feel the presence of Lord Krishna, what happened, where and when, how did Lord Krishna play there in Vrindavan, where was he born, what happened to Krishna, how did he move about, everything. He could find out. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the first, it is said, to experience the manifestation of divine presence at Vrindavan. After the destruction by the Islamic rulers, Before his advent, the holy place of pilgrimage at Vraja, that is Vrindavan, were almost forgotten. Everything was destroyed and it was almost forgotten. It became like a forest. Everything was forgotten. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled in those places, his mind, because of the spiritual progress he had achieved, he was an Avatara Purusha, his mind ascended to higher planes of consciousness. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experienced particular divine manifestations of Lord Krishna in particular places, wherever he went, where long ago Bhagavan Sri Krishna had actually sported. The faith that was at first generated by him in respect of these places in the minds of his disciple, like the disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were, like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and others, was handed down by them to successive line of disciples until it came to be accepted by all the inhabitants of India. Now, one more thing which I wanted to tell you was that images of Lord Krishna, the life-size images of Lord Krishna, beautiful, which were resembling the leg portion, the waist portion, and the face portion, the three images I was telling about, that when the temple was destroyed, the Rajput spies, they took this and they established in the Jaipur, Rajasthan. They secretly took it away. And even now, if you go to Rajasthan, if you go to the capital, Jaipur, two of that images can be seen there in the palace. One is in the main palace and it is worshipped in a very grand way. Every day I had gone there for the Rajasthan, and when I went to Jaipur, I visited that place. I went to see the Aarti morning and evening. So when I saw that image, beautiful image of Lord Krishna there, I could see the leg portion was so beautiful, extremely beautiful legs. You can't imagine. You have to go and see. If you go to Rajasthan, to the capital Jaipur, you go to the palace, Govindaji, the temple Krishna's there, it's called Govindaji, life-size black stone of that image, so beautiful, especially the beneath the legs of Lord Krishna. Then I could understand that was the image which the aunt of Parikshit, after the Pandavas, the Abhimanyu's son Parikshit had prepared by the sculptor, when the aunt who had seen Krishna described it. So, which the leg portion was very near or imitating Lord Krishna. And the other one is there nearby, another maybe a few kilometers away. Then one more was taken by the daughters of the Rajput king from Jaipur to her, where she was married to another place away. I went and saw all the three. I was eager to see that. When I did the pilgrimage of Rajasthan, I went to that places and saw all those images. And as I told you, one more image, that many images were given to the Zanana or the queens, so many queens and children as play dolls for them, toys. So one of them was that girl from her childhood started playing with this image, big image of Krishna. And somehow, because it was living and it was worshipped for many, many years in Vrindavan, that was taken away as toys and play things by the kings of Islamic rulers and given to the children. That child, that girl child, from her childhood started playing with that doll of Krishna, like a doll. Then she developed Madhura Bhava, because that beautiful image is so beautiful of Lord Krishna. She, from her childhood, as she grew up, she developed the Madhura Bhava, that Lord Krishna is my husband. She started developing loving attitude towards Krishna in that image, because it was so beautiful image. Then as she grew up, came to the age of 14 or 15, she had so much of attachment to that doll. She would never give up that Krishna's image, big sized, almost life size. Then the father was almost perturbed with the Muslim king, because in Islam there is no idol worship. So she's so attached to this idol of Krishna. What will the other people think? He wanted to get rid of that, but she was very much attached to that image. Somehow, due to the love of the daughter, he had kept quiet, hushed it up. But the great Acharya, one of the greatest Acharya, the founders of, or the main exponent, you can't tell the founder, because all these things were already there existing. The Vishishtadvaita. We know there are three schools of thoughts, Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita and Advaita. It is coming from the time of Vedas, from time immemorial, but Shankaracharya was the main propounder, main person in that is worshipped for Advaita. Ramanujacharya for Vishishtadvaita. They were not founders. Their gurus had taught them. It is coming from time immemorial. It is there found in the Vedas too. And Dvaita by Madhvacharya. The great Acharyas were there. So now Ramanujacharya, he knew by his yogic power that great image of Lord Krishna from the time of Krishna, that Vrindavan, worshipped for thousands and thousands of years. After the destruction, it was in the court, or it was in the Zanana, the queen's apartment, with that child, girl who had developed Madhura Bhava to that image because it was so beautiful. So now he went to the king and showed his talents, and the king was very much pleased by the yogic power and also the knowledge and also the many talents of Ramanujacharya. When the king are pleased, you know that Islamic king was pleased with Ramanujacharya's knowledge and other things. He told, you can ask whatever you want from me. I'm going to give it to you. He told, I don't want anything money. I don't want any diamond or anything. If you can give that image which your daughter is attached, because Ramanujacharya could know by his yogic power. If you can give that image to me, which your daughter is attached to, I'll be very happy. King was very happy. He wanted to get rid of that because he was already, it was a headache for him. In Islamic law, there is no this worship of the images or dolls. So he very readily took away that image and gave it to Ramanujacharya. So Ramanujacharya and his disciples took that image of Lord Krishna very happily and started rushing towards South India. Because if they are in the kingdom, anytime that king might change his mind and send the army to get it back. Because if the daughter starts, getting angry or wants that back. So Ramanujacharya took that image, ran towards South India so that he can come out of the kingdom of this Mughal emperor. So he ran. So days passed. This girl here was attached to Lord Krishna, the daughter of that Mughal emperor or whoever was there in Delhi. Now he got upset. Now the daughter has given up food, sleep, and she was crying. She couldn't stay without Lord Krishna. She had developed that Madhura Bhava. She had so much of love for that image. She had developed loving attitude of Madhura Bhava towards that image. So she gave up food and she was about to die. Then, with no other option left, he sent the army, 50 soldiers, full armed, on the horseback to chase Ramanujacharya and bring that image back. If he doesn't give, kill him and bring it back. So now Ramanujacharya had already, with that disciples, taken that image and ran very fast towards South India. So the soldiers on the horseback followed. And when they came to South India, near Mysore, in Karnataka, the seat of Sri Vaishnava learning, Melukote, where Ramanujacharya lived for many years there. So nearing that, he had already come to that place. The 50 soldiers covered him, attacked him, and they were about to forcibly take away the image. But nearby, there was a very big village with thousands of people there, seeing that the Dharma Guru, the sannyasin or the Guru of the Hinduism was attacked by the Muslim soldiers. Those thousands of people from that village, they bought whatever arms they had, the stone, the sticks, the sickle, the swords, whatever they had, thousands of people, they came and attacked these 50 soldiers, killed them or chased them away and protected Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya has established that in Melukote. It is called Chaluva Narayana. Chaluva in South Indian language means the most beautiful. Chaluva Narayana. So if you go there, Ramanujacharya's that seat of learning, Melukote, even now you can see that beautiful image. The name is Beautiful Narayana, Chaluva Narayana. So even now you can see that if you go to Mysore, Melukote, that Chaluva Narayana, that was also from the time of Vrindavan, a very old image. Like that, another image which belonged to Dwaraka, where Krishna lived, that was also being taken in a ship, and the ship was about to sink due to some storm. Madhvacharya in Udupi near Mangalore, he stopped that. He was the avatar, Madhvacharya was the avatar of Bhima with his strength. He could stop that boat sinking. And when the traders asked them to take something as a gift, he told, you give me that image of Lord Krishna, which is there from Dwaraka. It is from Dwaraka, which is covered by Gopi Chandana. So give me that image. That's all I want. I don't want any money. They very happily gave that from Dwaraka, that beautiful image. That Madhvacharya now established that image, and still it is being worshipped in Udupi. That is called Udupi Krishna. Very small image, not a very big image, very small, this much size. Maybe some at the most 4 feet or 3 feet, 3.5 feet. It's very small. Udupi Krishna. That was the image of Lord Krishna from Dwaraka, very, very old, from the period of Dwaraka. So like that, you can, if you go to India, all that from Vrindavan and Dwaraka, which was destroyed by the Islamic invaders, it has gone away here and there. So you can find them even now. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Vrindavan, when he went there, he rediscovered all the things. At present, if you go to all in Vrindavan and Mathura, whatever is now there is all the rediscovery by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that pilgrimage in Vraja, the Vrindavan, Mathura and other places were almost forgotten. It was just like forest, razed to grounds, destroyed by the Islamic invaders. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled in those places, his mind ascended to higher planes of consciousness, and he experienced particular divine manifestation of Sri Krishna in particular places where long ago Bhagavan Sri Krishna 30,000 years back had actually sported. The faith that was at first generated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in respect of these places in the minds of his disciples, like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami and others, was handed down by them to successive lines of disciples until it came to be accepted by all the inhabitants of India. Even now, if you go to that Jaipur, where that image of Lord Krishna is worshipped, they are from Bengal, the Goswamis, who have been established there to do the worship by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even in some of the Vrindavan temples also, the Goswamis, who have come in the lineage of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that disciples, Nityananda, Nitai, Nimai, their lineage people, the Goswamis are worshipping there. So, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami and other disciples, it was handed down to them, by them to successive lines of disciples until it came to be accepted by all the inhabitants of India. We could not have at all understood the aforesaid manner of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's discovery of Vrindavan, rediscovery you can tell, and would not have entertained it possibility had we not seen the power of Sri Ramakrishna's mind of rightly detecting and understanding things and persons from higher planes of consciousness. And in spite of that, how weak has been our faith in those facts, here are, however, a few examples of this. I've also given some of the examples of Swami Brahmanandaji Maharaj, who was also called as a spiritual dynamo by Swami Vivekananda himself, and the Divine Mother Kali had shown Sri Ramakrishna that he will be your spiritual son, Manasaputra. So that great Swamiji, wherever he went, Swami Brahmanandaji Maharaj, he could get the vision of that particular deity, whichever pilgrimage site. When he came to Kanyakumari, he saw that 7-year-old Divine Mother Kanya laughing there. So he had the vision of Divine Mother as a 7-year-old girl there. And in Madurai, he saw that manifestation of Divine Mother Meenakshi in every kana, in every sand, dust there, he could see the Divine Mother manifestation. When he went to all the places he could see that particular deity manifested. Whether he went to any temples, he could see the manifestation of the divine coming and giving him the darshan. He went to the Vindhyachala in Uttar Pradesh, the Parvata, and he had the vision of Divine Mother there too. That everywhere he could get that vision. And not only this thing, another disciple of Brahmanandaji, Swami Yatishwaranandaji Maharaj, who had written the book Meditation and Spiritual Life, it's very popular. So when he was in Bangalore, I told you, the Bangalore, the Holy Mother's rock, people had forgotten after many years where exactly Holy Mother had sat and meditated and went into Samadhi on that rock, big rock. Even if you go to Bangalore, you can see that. So after Yatishwaranandaji Maharaj came to that place, when that controversy was there, some people were going and worshipping one spot on that big mountain, and some people were going to another part and worshipping, telling that that was the exact spot. So much confusion. Then Brahmanandaji went there, sat in meditation, and he got the experience or vision where exactly Holy Mother sat. Now the mantapam is constructed there by and during the period of Yatishwaranandaji Maharaj. So like that, even down the lineage, Brahmanandaji's disciple, Yatishwaranandaji, everybody, so many great sadhus were there in our order. Even now, such great realized souls are there, but very difficult to identify. They keep hidden. All the people who have realized, they keep hidden, they never show off. People who don't have anything in the stuff inside, they will be broadcasting and telling so many things, even the small thing will be made big. But real, genuine people who have all those power, who have realized God, they will keep quiet. They never come out. They will guard that with great secrecy. They will never give it out. So now that has been explained by Shardanandaji Maharaj about Vrindavan. So until Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discovery of Vrindavan, we would not have entertained its possibility had we not seen Sri Ramakrishna's mind of rightly detecting and understanding things and persons from higher planes of consciousness. And in spite of that, how weak has been our faith in those facts. Here are, however, a few examples of this. Shardanandaji Maharaj is giving some of the examples by which we can get the faith. Hriday, the master's nephew, belonged to the village of Shiho, not far from Kamarpukur. The master, we have told the reader before, went there occasionally and spent some time before he returned to Dakshineshwar. The master was there on vacation. On one occasion, when there arose an altercation over some business affair between Hriday's younger brother, Rajaram, and another person of the village. From words, they gradually came to blows, and Rajaram, happening to find a hookah, that hookah wooden thing near at hand, took that, struck him on the head with it, the other person, neighbor, because there was a quarrel. The injured man sued Rajaram for assault. As the event happened in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, and as the man knew him to be honest and truthful, so the other person who was hit by this Rajaram, younger brother or brother of Hridayaram, so that person knew Ramakrishna was truthful. So he sued. While suing in the court, he gave the name of Sri Ramakrishna as the witness. So the injured man sued Rajaram for assault. As the event happened in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna, and as the man knew him to be honest, Ramakrishna was honest and truthful. He would never tell a lie, or even if the life was going away, he would never tell a lie. So the man knew that Ramakrishna was honest and truthful. He cited master as a witness in the court. The master therefore had to come to Vanavishnupur to appear as a witness. Before he came there, he scolded Rajaram very much for being thus blinded by anger, and on reaching the place said to him again, compound the case anyhow by giving him the complainant compensation, money. The case will otherwise go against you. I can by no means tell a lie. I will never tell a lie, whether you may be my relative, you may be very close to me, whatever that might be. I will never tell a lie. So I will tell what I have seen. You have hit him, I will tell in front of the judge, give the witness only the truth. So you will lose the case and you will be punished. Instead of that, make an out of court settlement, give him money or compensation for that, and make out court settlement. That's all. So the master therefore had to come to Vanavishnupur to appear as a witness. Before he came there, he scolded Rajaram, his nephew, another brother of this Hridayaram, very much for being thus blinded by anger. How can you give yourself to anger? See how you can see that anger can cause such havoc, how anger makes a person blind, confused, and will make him act and commit so many sins. Anger is one of the greatest sins. Shri Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asked the question to Lord Krishna, "Oh Krishna, we don't want to commit sinful acts. We don't want to commit wrong things, but something, some force in our mind, in our heart is there, which makes us forcefully commit these sinful acts. What is that, Krishna?" Then Lord Krishna answers in Bhagavad Gita, Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhavaha maha ashano mahapapma vidyena miha vairinam. So kama esha, this is kama, the lust, the intense desire. Krodha esha, anger, the younger brother or elder brother of kama, intense desire, lust is anger. Because when your intense desire is not fulfilled, you get angry. So anger is the elder brother of the desire, intense desire, lust. So concentrated lust is anger. So due to anger, as Krishna in another place tells how your mind, as a thought neglected, destroys you. How does he explain there in the second chapter? He tells, Dhyayate Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Upajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Vijayate Krodat Bhavadis Sammoha Sammoha Smriti Vibramaha Smriti Bramshat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashyati. You see a sense object, you want to attain it, that is desire. You think that that gives joy. In reality, that is not giving joy. Your own Atman, the joy or Ananda is coming. You falsely think that the outer things, sense object will get joy. So you get a desire. So because of the desire, you try to acquire it. You want to have the company of the sense object. So you do the work. That's why are we doing the work? To earn money, to earn name and fame, to get enjoyment. That's all. Why do we get so much of high education and work so hard? All that is being done just to fulfill our desires. Kama. That's why Ramakrishna is to simplify the whole world as two things, Kama and Kanchana. That is lust and gold. That's all. So everything we do in this world is for desire. So now, Dhyayate Vishayan Pumsaha, when you see some object of enjoyment, Sangasteshu Upajayate, you want to acquire it and enjoy it. Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. So because when you enjoy it and keep it in your near presence, people or things which you like or which you want to enjoy, then Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha, the desire, when you enjoy that becomes more and more intense, that is converted into Kama, lust. Kamat Krodho Vijayate, when there is obstruction to that enjoyment or that vastu being near, somebody wants to take it away or somebody will take away those person, then you get angry. If it is still fulfilled, you get greed. You want to acquire more, you want to get more attached to that person or people or vastu or that object. So, Kamat Krodho Vijayate, anger. Krodat Bhavati Sammohaha, the mind gets deluded. You can't think properly. You cannot decide what is wrong and right because the desire had come to the level of anger. Then sammoha, confusion, delusion. Right will be made to look like wrong and wrong will be made look like right. Sammoha smriti vibramaha. Your memory, all the good things you have learned in your life will stop working. It will not give you the result. It will not protect you. Sammoha smriti vibramaha smriti bramshat buddhinasho. Your intelligence will be destroyed. Viveka, discrimination between the right and the wrong, good and the bad, will get destroyed. Smriti Bramshat Buddhinasho, Buddhinashat, you'll become like an animal. Pranashyati. So if you behave like an animal, what do the animal or the dog or the tiger do? The lion, they kill each other. So pranashyati, you become like an animal. Pranashyati, the whole life, your life will be destroyed. So thought, just one desire can destroy you. Krishna brings about the psychological downslide there beautifully, so nicely. So these are the two things, great enemies Krishna tells to Arjuna, which goads us to commit sinful things, though we don't want to commit sinful things. But this kama eshaha, krodha eshaha, that is the intense desire and the anger. Anger is caused by intense desire. These are the two enemies in us. Be careful about them. Krishna is telling all of us. Maha Ashano, they are great fires. Maha Papma, they are great sins, sinful things in you. They are the greatest enemies. Vidyenamiha Vairanam, Krishna is telling, know for certain, they are your greatest enemies, internal enemies. You think enemies are outside? No. All that is expression of your own mind. Because of this anger, because of this intense desire, outside people become your enemies. Why do you get upset with your boss? Why do you get upset with your colleagues or your neighbors or your relatives or anybody? Because they are obstructing your enjoyment, your desires. So you get angry. So all that anger, jealousy, everything, greed comes because avarice, because of this intense desire. That is the root cause, anger. So Maha Ashana, they are great fire. What will the fire do? Who gives the shelter to the fire? The fuel. What is the fuel? It may be the petrol or it may be the firewood. So that gives the shelter to the fire. What will the fire do to the shelter? Now, the firewood gives the shelter and that fire will burn the shelter. So if you give shelter to anger and desire in your mind, it will burn you, it will destroy you. So should we give shelter to anger? Should we not control anger? Should we not control that lust and intense desire? That is what Lord Krishna is telling. So, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajoguna Samudbhavaha, Maha Ashano, Maha Papma, Vidhyena Vairanam. Know for certain they are your greatest enemies. Krishna is telling all of us. So we should be careful about anger. Give up immediately. You should never harbor because it will burn you. It will destroy you. So now Ramakrishna scolded his nephew Rajaram about his anger. See, what have you done because of the anger? Blinded by anger. So Ramakrishna scolded him, Rajaram, his nephew, very much for being thus blinded by anger. And on reaching the place, said to him again, compound the case, do some out-of-court settlement, give him compensation in the form of money or something. Then the case will otherwise go against you. Why? I will never tell a false witness. I will never be a false witness. I will tell only the truth. For whatever reason, I can't tell a lie. Ramakrishna told openly, I can't tell a lie. I will tell only the truth. So either compensate him and make an out-of-court settlement, otherwise you will be punished. It will go, the case will go against you. I can by no means tell a lie. As soon as I am asked, I shall plainly say what I have seen and known. What happened there, I will tell as it is. I will never tell a lie, or I will never tell anything that is favorable to you or unfavorable to the truth. I will tell only the truth. I will narrate everything as it is. As soon as I am asked in the court, I shall plainly say what I have seen and known. Now the nephew, Rajaram, the brother of Hridayaram, got frightened and set about compounding the case. Now he went to that person and started compromising the case. So because now Ramakrishna had come to this Vanavishnupur, Sri Ramakrishna took that opportunity to go out and see that town. It was famous, old, where there are two Vishnupur. Now the present Vishnupur, that was a kingdom, that was the main capital of some ruling people there, Vishnupura. You see that it is near to Jairambati, 30-40 kilometers away. mother used to come. There was a railway station, come to that by bullock cart, and from there she used to travel by train of the British period to Calcutta. So Vishnupur. Near this Vishnupur, the old Vishnupur is there, that is called Vana Vishnupur. Vana means forest. So Ramakrishna took that opportunity to go out and see the town of Vana Vishnupura. At one time, this town, Vana Vishnupura, was very prosperous. If you go to Vishnupur now, you can go to this place also where Ramakrishna visited there. And these incidents now we are going to narrate which happened there. At one time, this town was very prosperous, Vana Vishnupur. This became clear. This becomes clear from the existence there of very big tanks, reservoirs of water, like Lal Bandha. Lal Bandha is a very big reservoir of water, big tanks. Krishna Bandha and others, so many tanks are there, big tanks built by kings for the welfare of the people. So that shows that that place was a very big town earlier, very active, and very many great old temples, both ruined and surviving, and of other dilapidated buildings. It had also several features of good residential town, good broad roads, several crowded bazaars. Bazaars means market, and shops, trading centers, many good living quarters, and a constant flow of people coming in and out in connection with trade and business. So the princess of Vishnupur once was very powerful, were great patrons of religion and learning. The town was formerly famous for the cultivation of music. That place was very popular. The king, the princess of Vishnupur was very powerful, very great patrons of religion and learning. The town was formerly very famous for cultivation of music. The princely family became the followers of Vaishnava cult shortly after the passing away of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, the disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So by their influence, by the influence of the Vaishnavism, the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the kings here, they became followers of Vaishnava cult. After the passing away of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and other companions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the image of Sri Madana Mohana Krishna, the image of Sri Madana Mohana, it is another name for Krishna, installed at Bagh Bazaar, Calcutta, belonged formerly to the princess of this place. Once upon a time, Gokula, Chandramitra, it is said, lent a large sum of money to a princess of Vishnupur. When the time of repayment came, Mitra demanded and got, in lieu of the money, the image of Madana Mohana, which held very great attraction for him. Besides Sri Madana Mohana, there was a very ancient image named Mranmayi, another very ancient temple with an ancient image of Divine Mother, which was called Mranmayi. Why? Mran means mud, clay. So Mranmayi means that image of Divine Mother has been made by clay or mud. So the name Mranmayi. Chinmayi means it is of consciousness, condensed consciousness. Mranmaya means condensed clay. So here, beside that Madana Mohana temple, there was very ancient image of Divine Mother named Mranmayi installed by the princess. The goddess Mranmayi, it was said, was a living presence, an awakened deity. So when the temple was established there, due to the puja, due to the devotion of the people, the Divine Mother was very much living and it was awakened deity. How was it awakened? That she was a living deity holding communication with human beings in various ways and helping the people there in all times of difficulty. So that deity was awakened. So in that way, how was she awakened? She was living deity holding communication with the devotees, the people who used to come, the human beings in various ways and helping them in their difficulty. That's why all the people consider this temple and the image of Mranmayi living, awakened, as I called her. Once When the house of the prince fell on evil times, the image was broken by a mad woman because it was made out of mud, clay. So when the king family, the prince family, house of the prince fell on evil times, that image was broken by a mad woman. The family therefore installed a new image in its stead. After visiting all other temples, Sri Ramakrishna was going to pay his obeisance to Mrinmai. Sri Ramakrishna went to that place, that Vanavishnupur, because of the court case. He had to come there as a witness. So now he had time. He went to see all the temples here. So he came to pay obeisance to this Divine Mother Mrinmai. At one place on his way, he was in ecstasy and saw Mrinmai's face only. When he came to this temple, at another little away, another place he saw nearing this Mrinmai's temple. At one place on his way, he was in ecstasy, samadhi. And there in that samadhi, he saw the face of Mrinmai, the Divine Mother, only the face. When he went to the temple and saw the newly installed image, he found that it was not similar to the image seen in his ecstasy, because he has already seen the Divine Mother's face in ecstasy, and the new image which is established now there in the temple, the face was not resembling the image, the experience which Sri Ramakrishna saw in his experience or in ecstasy. When he went to the temple and saw the newly installed image, he found that it was not similar to the image seen in his ecstasy. He could not at all understand the reason for the disparity. On inquiry, it was afterwards known that the new image was really dissimilar to the old image, old one. The sculptor or the person who had done the new image had done it in a different way in his own imagination. The old thing was not maintained. While making the new image in the mud or the clay, the potter had actually formed the face in a different fashion in order to display his skill. The broken head of the old image was carefully kept by a Brahmana in his own house. Shortly after, the devout Brahmana had another image made to bear that head and installed it in a beautiful spot near the pond. Lalbandha, near that pond, Lalbandha, that Brahmana installed that image, made a new body, and patched this old image face to that and installed there near this lake reservoir, Lalbandha, and began to perform its daily worship and other services. During our training center, we were taken to this place. We had gone to this temple where Sri Ramakrishna had this vision, and we saw that temple also, Mrinmai temple. It is still there. It is good to mention here a few examples of Sri Ramakrishna's power of detecting the aims and attitudes of people approaching him. What is it? It is good to mention, Sharadanandaji Maharaj is telling, it is good to mention here a few examples of Sri Ramakrishna's power of detecting the aims and attitudes of people approaching him. Why were the people coming? What was their intention? What was there in their mind? What was playing in their minds? So Sri Ramakrishna could detect as soon as he saw that person. Why has he come here? What is the reason? So it is good to mention here, Sharadanandaji Maharaj is telling, few examples of Sri Ramakrishna's power of detecting the aims and attitudes of people approaching him. We have already mentioned that Sri Ramakrishna loved the revered Swami Brahmananda as if he were his own son, because Divine Mother had placed that child on the lap of Sri Ramakrishna and told that he is your Manasa Putra, mind-born son, spiritual son. Then Ramakrishna objected, Mother, I see all the women as your manifestation. So how can I make a family, marry somebody and have children? Because I see Divine Mother, you in all the women. So I can't have that relationship with any woman. I see only Divine Mother in all the women. So how can I have a child? He started feeling apprehensive and started fearing and worrying. He cried. Then Divine Mother told, no, he's not your son in the bodily sense. in the genetic sense, but as your spiritual son, as a mind-born son. Then after he saw Brahmananda, he could reconnect that vision. He could understand that was the first time when Brahmananda, as a small boy, Rakal Chandra Ghosh, came to Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna could recognize because Divine Mother had shown him in his vision. So we have already mentioned that Sri Ramakrishna loved and revered Swami Brahmananda as if he were his own son. One day, the Swami, that is Brahmananda, was standing as a small boy then. His name was not Brahmananda, his name was Rakal Chandra Ghosh. So one day, Rakal was standing on the northern side of the long veranda to the east of Sri Ramakrishna's room and talking with him on various subjects. He saw a coach, that is horse-drawn carriage. He saw a coach drawn by a pair of horses coming towards them from the direction of the gate of the garden. It was a phaeton. That type of coach is called, or the horse carriage is called phaeton. It was a phaeton, and a few gentlemen were sitting in it. No sooner had Sri Ramakrishna seen them than he could know that it belonged to a well-known rich man of Calcutta. Many people from Calcutta then used to come to Sri Ramakrishna. He was therefore not astonished that they had also come for that purpose. But as soon as Sri Ramakrishna's eyes fell on the phaeton, he shrank back with fear and went to extreme hurry out of their sight into his own room and sat down there. Surprised to see that attitude of Sri Ramakrishna, Rakal Chandra Ghosh, that is Swami Brahmananda, too followed him into the room. Scarcely had Sri Ramakrishna seen him when he said, "Go, go. If they want to come here, tell them I cannot see them now." So charged by Sri Ramakrishna, he came out again. In the meantime, the newcomers approached him and asked, "Is not a sadhu living here?" They were inquiring about Ramakrishna. Swami Brahmananda said, "You have been misinformed. He never gives any medicine or any talisman, or he is not like a wizard or a witch giving some mantra, talisman and other things. He doesn't do all those things. He never gives any medicine to anyone. He doesn't give any concoction or something. You might have heard of Brahmachari Durgananda. He lives there on the other side. You can go there. This person who lives here, the sadhu, only speaks about God. He doesn't give any charms and other things. He is the person, that Brahmachari Durgacharan is the person to be met for such purposes. You can go there. He will give some mantra. He will give some talisman, some charms. He stays there in that hut in the Panchavati. You will meet him there. When the newcomers had gone away, Sri Ramakrishna said to Brahmananda, "I saw such a great power of tamas." You know what is tamas? Sattva, rajas, tamas. I could see so much power of tamas manifested in those people, in them. And I could not look at them, let alone talk to them. So much of tamas was manifested in them. I fled out of fear. We found that Sri Ramakrishna, thus daily understanding from an elevated plane of consciousness, the high or low manifestation of power in every place, things and person. We were compelled to accept his words, finding on repeated inquiry that such qualities, good or bad, as Sri Ramakrishna perceived, really existed in those people. We propose to mention here few more such examples and then tell the reader what he experienced from the normal plane of consciousness in those places of pilgrimages. So since we have some 4 or 3 minutes left, we will look into these facts about Sri Ramakrishna, way by which he could identify the places of pilgrimage and have the vision of the Lord, have the vision of the deity, or when he saw some human beings or people, he could understand what was their aim, what was their intention, what was their attitude, what was the manifestation of tamas, or the bad qualities and other things in them. And he could recognize how would he behave with that. So now you will see some more such things in future, in tomorrow's class. Today, now we will stop here and then dedicate our time to question and answer session. or if you have any doubts pertaining to today's discussion or Great Master only. So I think you can ask questions if you have. We have some question on the live chat in the YouTube channel. Whether Thakur further enhanced and increased the spiritual power of the places of pilgrimage, which is used. Yes, naturally. Bhagavata itself tells an ordinary person of realization who is a devotee, an ordinary man like you and me, anybody who has, if you realize God, if you have great devotion to God and always think and meditate on God, then wherever you go will become a place of pilgrimage. That is what is told in Bhagavata. What is the statement of Bhagavata? Tirthi kurvanti tirthani. This particular sentence is there not only in Bhagavata and Ardha Bhakti Sutra too, but in Bhagavata it is extended. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani sa antarena gadabrata. Why? Because those saints, those sages, those devotees carry the Lord Gadabrata or Vishnu, Narayana. You may carry Shiva, somebody may carry Durga, somebody may carry Ganesha, somebody may carry Krishna or Rama in their heart, always manifested. So wherever those persons, those devotees, those great men go, it will become a site of pilgrimage. If that is the case with ordinary living beings, if we realize God and go to some place, that becomes a pilgrimage, then what about the Avatar Purusha, the Lord himself, the Avatar Purusha himself, the Narayana himself, Vishnu himself has taken the human body. Will not the place where he goes, there the spirituality will be enhanced and that becomes more awakened. That's why Sri Ramakrishna had come to show the truth of those things. Otherwise, as Sharadanandaji Maharaj is telling, educated in the college and the British English education, Western education, we didn't have faith. We had lost faith in all these things, in places of pilgrimages and of scriptures. It is because of the life. We saw that live manifestation of this spirituality in Ramakrishna. We could get the faith back. That's why the Lord has come to establish the faith. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham. When there is a decline in the religion, in the righteousness, I come down again and again to establish the religion. So the Lord has come to establish and give faith. You can see it is happening. So the Avatar Purusha, wherever he goes, that pilgrimage will become more awakened because of his presence. That's true. Any more questions?
Om Swamiji.
Yes, Shrikant, please tell.
Swamiji, it's a practical question with practical implementation. Swamiji, after hearing what had happened with the Muslim invaders in India, there may be some anger or other lower thoughts that may rise up in Hindus, particularly the youths, from younger Hindus.
No, it is not only in India, it is everywhere, all over the world.
Yes, yes, Swamiji. What is your advice to those who, after hearing of these
No, if you take it
tragedies,
as, truth has to be narrated, truth as truth. Take it as truth, as a fact, statement of fact. So history has to be studied from that neutral mind. So what things have happened, whatever happened, it is up to the youths or anybody to take it as it is. So suppose there are so many things happening in the world, it is because of our state of mind, we get angry or we get a peace state of mind. So we have to take this as a neutral this thing, and it is only for the statement of fact what is there, it is being told. So it is up to them. This is a democratic country, the whole world is democracy. Let them decide what is the truth and let them feel whatever they want. So no comment on that. Fact is to be stated, truth is to be given as the truth. It is given, you take as you like.
Thank you, Swami. Stay neutral and in the middle.
That's all. For us, spiritual life is important. Progress in spirituality. If you can get angry and hatred out of that, you will go back in spiritual life. If you want progress in spiritual life, you have to go in a neutral manner. That's all. Whatever you want, really want, will decide the future. Yeah, Pavan Kumar wanted to show the picture of Govindaji of Jaipur. Pavan Kumar, you wanted to show the picture of Jaipur. If you have that picture, you can show it. You can send it to Govindaji of Jaipur, sharing the picture. So Naresh or somebody, Shida, can take that and show it to the people. By that time, I'll try to answer another question. So purity of mind is necessary to feel the presence of God in the place of pilgrimage. Yeah, purity of mind will show you more. But if we don't have purity of mind, impurity of mind, so there is a double advantage. If we are impure, the place of pilgrimage and the temple or wherever we go to that pilgrimage, it will make us pure if we go with the right attitude. If we have already purity of mind, then we will see the presence of Lord there, presence of spirituality. That's all. Both the way, it is win-win situation. If you don't have purity, it will give you purity. We go to the temples, we go to the places of pilgrimage. So if we are impure, we could become pure. If you are already pure, then it will give the feel the presence of God and vision of God. That's all. Both ways, you are benefited. Any other questions? Any other doubts? Any other questions? Okay. If you don't have any doubts, if you don't have any questions, then we will conclude our today's discussion. I think the Govindaji, you can see that has been, it is in Jaipur. If you go to the palace, even now you can see that Govindaji. The legs are very beautiful because the legs is covered by the cloth. You cannot see it, but I have seen it as it is the image. Beautiful legs resembling of that of Lord Krishna. And it was done during the time of, after immediately giving up of the body of Krishna, Parikshit got it done. Parikshit was the grandson of Arjuna, and it was guided and told by one of the aunt of Parikshit who had seen Lord Krishna. So that is the image. Now in this image, it is too small. You cannot see it properly. If you yourself can go to the Google and ask for Govindaji of Jaipur, you can also see it on the YouTube. So a little inkling, we have got a jhalak now. You can do the research and read it further. Or else you can go to India when it is near Delhi. You can go to Jaipur and see that two images are there. The other image, you have to go a little deeper. I have visited all those places. Okay. Now we will conclude our today's program with the prayer. Om Priyatam Pundarikakshaha Sarvayagneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Prenite Prenitam Jagat Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Ramakrishna Pranamastu